Hello everybody, I'm back. There's something that I've been wanting to bring up for a while, and that's shipping bands. Me and quite a few other people collect bands, as you've seen in my other video, and one of the things that we're always concerned with is how people send the bands to us. It can end pretty badly if you don't ship them right. Some people who don't know how or haven't shipped bands before will put them in regular envelopes, which is okay with certain occasions, but they just put them in an envelope like this, and you see what happens when it goes through the post office. Letters like this go through some kind of machine that's supposed to compact them and flatten them, and they get sorted, and the little sorting thingies can get caught on here if it's not perfectly flat and tear holes in it, which is what happened to this one. This end right here I tore open so I could get the bands out, but this happened through the post office and there was a little bitty tear right here, and we got a little hole down here too. And I don't want to show the junk on here, but you know, it went over here too, and a little bit right there. And those holes and tears are big enough for the bands to fall out and get lost. And sometimes we'll get a package and there will be nothing in it because everything fell out through the holes. And I guess those bands are lost forever. I mean, nobody ever sees them again. I don't know what happens to them, but if you put them in a regular envelope, there are some things that you can do to prevent them from getting lost. And one thing is you can get bubble wrap and tape the bands up in the bubble wrap so it makes like a wider area where it won't fall out of the little bitty holes. And it'll also help protect them from getting smashed, because if you put aluminum bands in a regular letter, they end up flat sometimes depending on how they're laying in the envelope when it gets sent through that compactor thing. I've had quite a few come through that I had to shove a pencil through the band and try to reshape it back into its original form, and that's not fun. If you send plastic snap-on bands, which I've had happen too, if they're laying on their side instead of upright the way they're supposed to, when it flattens it, it'll snap it in half. And if it doesn't, it'll bend it really bad, and they will probably break on your bird's feet. So that's not good. So yeah, you can put the bands in bubble wrap first, or you can tape them. I've had some people send me bands where they took a big piece, like maybe, I don't know, that bit. It depends on how many bands you're sending, but it's the packaging tape, like the thin but like really sticky wide tape. It's not duct tape, that might be too difficult to get apart. But and they'll sit the bands on there, and then they'll fold the rest of the tape over the top of it to secure them, and it makes like a strip of bands. And of course that isn't going to fall through little bitty tears and holes unless it rips the whole bottom or the whole side out of your envelope, which I'm sure could happen too. Another thing you can do is put them in a Ziploc baggie or some kind of little plastic bag. That way they're not just rolling around in the envelope where they could just fall out of the holes. They'll be in something that is less likely to get pulled out through one of the holes. But by far the best option for shipping bands is padded envelopes. And I get the smallest ones I can find because usually I don't send that many bands. Depending on where you go, you might not have the option of getting one this small. This one is 4 inches by 7 inches, and I got these at the dollar store, and they're pretty cheap. I mean, I think it's worth it if you don't want your bands getting lost in the mail, because it sucks when you send bands and you pay like $1 or $2 or maybe even just for the stamps to send them, and then the person doesn't get the bands. So you can see it's got, well, I don't know if you can see that, but it's got bubble wrap made into the inside of it. Mine come with a little sticky thing that I peel off and close it. And you know, sometimes these might get ripped, but since it has that bubble wrap lining in it, it usually doesn't rip all the way through, so the bands are safe. So yeah, I mean, it's the best kind. And then there's also these ready to post or like flat rate prepaid, I don't know, these well, these envelopes from the post office, they're also padded. They've got, you can feel the padding in them, and then they've got like a paper lining in the inside too, but you can feel the padding in there. And these are really good. These seem pretty tough. I don't think anything would tear a hole that bad into it to where all the bands would fall out. So that's a good one too. But yeah. Oh, and another thing, if you're putting them in regular envelopes, you can put the bands on a zip tie. So you have like a little ring of bands, and that'll be harder to come out of a little hole. Trying to think. I think that's about it. I've had some people, and I've done this too, get straws, like the big thick straws from like big drinks from like McDonald's or Hardee's or something, and I'd slip the bands onto the straw, sort of like a dowel rod, only it's a straw, and that keeps them from rolling around all over the place. But I'm sure it could still slip out of a hole, I don't know, but that's just another option of keeping them secure. And yeah, so I appreciate the bands I got today. I think they were all in there. When I saw the envelope, I was like, oh crap. There's holes in it, and I was like, watch me open this and there not be anything in there, but I got a decent amount of them, so if some got lost, it's not that big of a deal, at least not to me anyway. But yeah, most of mine were still in there, luckily. But yeah, it's not your fault. I don't blame people for not knowing how to ship bands if they've never done it before, or if they sent them in a normal envelope and they haven't had a bad experience yet, then they think, oh well, then it's okay. But it happens a lot, whether you know it or not. People might not tell you about it, or you know, it happens a lot. So it's a good idea to try to prevent the bands from getting lost. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So good luck shipping bands.